Hello everyone and a warm welcome from Manitoba. I am honored to be presenting at the 2020 TESL Newfoundland and Labrador Conference, Language Learning in a Time of Change. Thank you for attending my session on ePortfolio Pedagogy. My name is Rita Zuba Prokopetz and I have been an ESL instructor for a few decades now. Quite a few actually. My session is based on my experience with intermediate level students during 5 iterations of blended learning experiences where students created a capstone ePortfolio project in the final module of their program of studies. Today, I plan to cover the types and purposes of ePortfolios for various stakeholders, and there are quite a few, their potential and possible obstacles, theoretical underpinnings, and the importance, if any, in our practice. I will begin by acknowledging that I am presenting from Treaty 1 territory. ePortfolios in a digital format serve many purposes, some of which are displayed on this slide. In tertiary education, ePortfolio types and audiences can be grouped into 4. In the past decade, I have had experience with each of these 4 areas, either as a learner in my program of studies or educator in my ESL practice, and actually with graduate students for the past 4 or 5 years, actually, in a university in Western Canada as well. The process ePortfolio documents the student's learning journey. This type of ePortfolio is embedded in a course and is the one used in a capstone ePortfolio project. The professional development ePortfolio documents the learning of the instructor. This learning ePortfolio is created by teachers, nurses, and other professions in various fields during the internship, final stages of their program of studies, or to reflect on what worked in a unit of studies, how it can be done better, and why it is important to do so. Right now, it's a perfect time for this type of ePortfolio because it allows us to park our thoughts, our frustrations and elations, if I may, aha and oh no moments of our learning experiences during this fluid situation. The assessment ePortfolios are for the accreditation of the student's work. This is the type of ePortfolios in our language classes, and they differ from ePortfolio development in a capstone project. The assessment and other types of ePortfolio can and should be included in a capstone ePortfolio project as part of the collection of pages. And the final type, the showcase ePortfolio. These types of ePortfolios are used by individuals seeking employment. As badges and micro-credentials gain popularity, so do the showcase ePortfolios, which, like the other types, are portable and can be updated on an ongoing basis. ePortfolios have emerged as a technological tool that has many purposes due to the ability to store and showcase student performance over a period of time. They are deployed to serve stakeholders in various fields. Students can choose a platform to showcase their achievements. Instructors can use the ePortfolio product to design learning and also, and most important, the ePortfolio process to reflect on instruction. Assessors can move beyond cognition to enable learners to self-assess and provide insight into some of the difficulties they have. Administrators can view evidence of employee professional development, for example, and make suggestions for future learning and professional growth. And ePortfolio creators can engage in deep learning and critical reflection. As a pedagogy and a groundbreaking and innovative technological tool, ePortfolios have the potential to enable higher education professionals to conduct their classroom assessments, meet institution-wide standards, experience enhanced learning in their classroom, and help students increase their employability. As I have experienced, the showcase ePortfolio is of interest to students who are looking for a volunteer position, a job, or even a promotion. This type of ePortfolio is for employment purposes, and the students choose a platform to showcase the achievements. This is actually a beautiful process, by the way. The showcase and the process e-portfolio differ from one another. The focus of the process e-portfolio, however, is on academic growth and alignment of competencies. Therefore, a well-articulated demonstration of learning growth is often included in employment or showcase e-portfolio. The process e-portfolio is the one developed by the students who participate in the capstone project of culminating learning experiences, as mentioned before. Just on a side note, some of the platforms my students have used are LiveBinders, Wix, Google Sites, WordPress, and Weebly's. I have also used Mahara, which is an open source platform that includes a global community of practice. I welcome opportunities to participate in the experiences of Avenue and Brightspace e-portfolios, which are in the works for some of the institutions that I have communicated with. E-portfolio projects are part of an ecosystem that includes learning and reflection. As educators designing or redesigning courses for the spaces of the internet, we need to identify our own gifts in order to strengthen rather than weaken ourselves during our online curriculum development process. As such, we may wish to engage in professional self-development as we create our own learning portfolio. In the process, we can step back, look at what worked in our face-to-face classes that many love and miss so much, and then, in collaboration with peers, brainstorm to see how it can be modified and adapted for our new online teaching and learning spaces. As we conceptualize what we see happening at various phases of the current stages of the online curriculum process, we need a place to park our thoughts, such as an e-portfolio platform. In other words, the e-portfolio product. Afterwards, we can return to the information and engage with the process aspect of the learning e-portfolio. We can then reflect on how we envision creating instructional episodes that foster deep learning, critical reflection, and include artifacts aligned with language competencies for our ESL students. For educators, some of our professional competencies may include understanding of subject matter and student development, knowledge of theoretical principles, application of educational technology, appreciation of diversity, enabling students' agency in the planning of thoughtful assessment, the design of effective learning episodes, and, naturally, ongoing professional development, evidence of which can be displayed in our learning e-portfolio developed individually and in collaboration with peers. This evaluative form of thinking process with self and peers as an educator, curriculum and course developer, or language learner provide members of an e-portfolio community a solid foundation on which to stand. This e-portfolio interaction with peers is an endeavor that involves both intellect and emotions and bridges the cognitive and affective domains. The use of innovative assessment tools such as e-portfolio projects show what students have learned from the course materials, how they apply skills effectively, and why they are able to articulate the learning date by mapping out their competencies. In other words, an authentic and more thoughtful way to assess learning, one, by the way, that does not require a plagiarism checker. It's fascinating, actually. Education, as we know, aims to prepare students to become agents. Therefore, in addition to being both meaningful and level appropriate, our learning tasks must include student agency, be interest-driven and self-initiated, and consequently provide voices and choices throughout the skill building, skill using, and assessment activities. As a result, our students will not only be submitting their own authentic work, but also going beyond language learning as they aim to improve themselves on a professional, academic, and professional level, as well as the community in which they live, learn, and work. Aligned with the categories of human capabilities, the learning outcomes comprise intellectual skills in various domains, from factual to metacognitive. As such, before each assessment task, students require sufficient amounts of time and space to internalize new knowledge. This deep learning includes, for example, a body of knowledge within a unit of study as mapped out by the competencies. This information, organized into bodies of interconnected facts, undergird subsequent learning and help students leverage on what they have to offer as they engage in meaningful assessment of self and peers in a more thoughtful and organic way during the e-portfolio development process. A place, by the way, where they can park their thoughts and return to reflect on them at any given time. The e-portfolio as a technology-mediated learning site enables both students and practitioners to reflect and document their learning growth over time. As a vehicle of culture sharing among creators and proponents, the e-portfolio has the potential to become a subculture of a much vaster space, which is internet culture. With open education and open pedagogy, the e-portfolios can connect with e-portfolio creators, e-portfolio proponents, scholars, anywhere, everywhere in the world at any time. As I have experienced, learning needs to be visible and to be articulated well, by the way. E-portfolio development embodies the process of trying to align our beliefs on the current state of knowledge throughout our learning journey, which fosters teacher and student agency. A beautiful process. Applying evidence-based thinking in practice is, however, challenging, as we all know, due to many reasons, which include behavioral, social, theoretical, and methodological aspects. An area for research, for sure. Administrators who aim to foster agency in their faculty and student population may begin to view e-portfolio reflective projects as evidence of what goes inside the classroom, how the service provider experienced each unit of learning, and, among other factors, why certain choices were made by the consumers of education and the most important stakeholders in the equation, our students themselves. As an innovative instructional strategy, e-portfolio implementation espouses both potentials and obstacles for the various stakeholders. The e-portfolio as a capstone reflective project gives students choices while providing them with the opportunity to learn with the technology while learning about it. Educators and assessors participating in e-portfolio communities are also able to make visible their teaching and learning while differentiating and innovating the assessment tasks. For administrators concerned about how to foster meaningful language learning in a time of change, e-portfolio projects serve as evidence of what was learned in a course, how it was taught, and most of all, why certain decisions were made in terms of content and methodology. Barriers to e-portfolio implementation include the lack of technological connectivity, the pedagogical disconnect with the curriculum, and the unnatural way reflection and feedback interaction are forced upon students. Professional development may help stakeholders overcome some of these obstacles. As I have observed throughout probably the past decade, lack of both interest and technical support have also made it difficult for e-portfolio proponents worldwide, actually, not just in Canada, to learn more about and or implement this innovative pedagogy in their practice. The mid-1990s and the advent of the Internet was a time when e-portfolio in the electronic version emerged as a multi-purpose tool. Until then, Bloom's taxonomy, usually associated with the cognitive domain and the acquisition of skills, influenced attempts to organize program instruction. At the time, the taxonomy aligned well with the instructional objectives movement. Fast forward now to the mid-2010s, a time for proper alignment of technology and pedagogy, and we begin to see the importance of the integration of attitudes and the affective domain and the skills of the cognitive domain in the areas of instruction and educational research. A decade ago, a group of scholars explained that the reason behind viewing the cognitive and affective domains working in tandem was because knowledge and skills alone do not imply their right use. Therefore, to incorporate active engagement in our tasks in the receptive skills, the students created PowerPoint slides to demonstrate how they visualize concepts from audio or text. These student-created artifacts were then uploaded to one of the pages of their e-portfolio projects. Prior to engaging in a more formal writing task, the students made an effort to make a short presentation to articulate the understanding of that particular lecture or concept. Only then were they required to submit their writing task for assessment via the Dropbox. Prior to that, they did drafts of writing via the discussion forum, and then they would do another topic, same paragraph structure or essay structure, but via the Dropbox on a different topic for assessment purposes. As I have noticed, this gentle form of assessment involves personal engagement with content, relies on co-construction of knowledge with peers, and shows evidence of deep learning. In my view, this writing process is authentic, integrates all 4 language skills, helps maintain student agency, and enables the creation of an artifact that can be used for reflection on the learning to date at the end of the course or program of studies. These 2 artifacts result from learning experiences in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The critical thinking task on the left was based on a reading of a quote, an article, and a longer text in a blended CLB 7-8 class. The first part of the task was completed individually and was followed by group discussion on different perspectives regarding the concept. During the asynchronous portion of the class, the students created and posted their graphic representation in the discussion forum. Later that week, they shared their thoughts with the class as part of a speaking task. There was time and there was a space provided in each one of those steps of the reading, listening, speaking, and writing process. The project-based learning on the right was completed in 3 hours by a group of CLB 6-7 students in a full-time, face-to-face class. The 3rd hour was spent in a computer lab as part of the independent study portion of the class. At the time we had that. The students had an hour to create and then post in a discussion forum a graphic representation that depicted the understanding of the concept. Although my classes at the time were entirely face-to-face all day from Monday through Friday, the students relied on e-project activities to continue to interact with me, their course content, and peers after school hours. They call that homework. They were so eager to learn this new format at a distance that they spent a considerable amount of time completing tasks initially considered as an extracurricular activity. Based on the positive experience with the CLB 6-7 class and 5-6 before that, these pedagogical tools were later embedded in 5 iterations of a blended course for CLB 7-8 students and were included in the e-portfolio final capstone project. The 5 iterations culminated with the one that ended on June 26th, by the way. Artifacts such as those are guided by the CLB framework and undergirded by theoretical principles. They integrate the 4 skills and go beyond knowledge acquisition and application as they enable the learners to articulate their learning and reflect on their growth when they include them in a final project. This is just a beautiful time in the program of studies of the students. As capstone projects, e-portfolios enable students to engage in culminated experiences as they approach the final weeks of a course. In both cases, CLB 7-8 group in 2018 and 6-7 in 2015, as displayed here, students relied on meaningful learning experiences to write an authentic essay on what happened, how the learning happened, why certain choices were made, and for CLB 7 students, the impact of the experience, and for CLB 8 students, the possible recommendations for a future project, for example. In all instances, the students wrote an authentic essay, in this case, for an audience of 21, which included the instructor and peers, rather than for an audience of 1, just for the instructor. As a result, they strengthened themselves and their learning community. As a capstone project, e-portfolios espouse pedagogy, technology, reflection, and interaction. They are underpinned by construction and co-construction of knowledge as students engage in language learning in a creative way. In my 4 course iterations in a blended format in 2018 and 2019 to each, and the last one in 2020 entirely online after the first month and a half, because of COVID, the students engaged in their process e-portfolio developed as an individual project in the final month of their program of studies. They revisited their tasks in the 4 skills in the previous modules, interacted with content and with each other, internalized growth over time, and became aware of what they learned, how the learning occurred, and why they made certain choices, and the impact their learning may have had or will eventually have on them on a personal, academic, and professional level. In other words, they relied on their e-portfolio projects to make sincere presentations to their peers based on their learning to date. In consequence, they demonstrated the importance of domain integration, of affect and cognition. My personal observations of students participating in the development of their reflective projects demonstrate how the e-portfolio is now positioned as an innovative pedagogy in a time of change. Here are some of the references on which I based today's presentation. Thank you so much for attending my session at the 2020 TESL Newfoundland and Labrador Conference, Language Learning in a Time of Change. I considered it a privilege to have the opportunity to share with you learning experiences incorporating e-portfolio pedagogy with my students in our online learning community. I am honored. Thank you so much.